Two things came to mind, and one is that this whole idea of embracing insecurity, which is kind of where, what I was hearing, while you were talking earlier, is that it's not so much the not knowing that is causing us the problems, but it's the erecting this false knowledge that's causing us problems. And so what does it really mean to embrace that insecurity? And that's one of my favorite Alan Watts books, is called The Wisdom of Insecurity. And that's really what he says in the book, is that that by learning to accept that we don't know who we are, and to quit trying to define ourselves, quit trying to make rules and boundaries around ourselves and everything else, that that's the way to flow in reality much more smoothly than to, when we try to make rigid walls. And that's, what we keep hitting up against is our boundaries, and they're boundaries that exist in our minds, of our definitions of this is this and this is that. And, like I was thinking about identity, how many of our problems are caused by identity? I'm an American. You are not an American. I mean, did you know that means that if you are in this country, you don't have rights under our Constitution, because you're not a person. You're not an American. I mean, imagine. It's like that we don't even, these human rights don't apply because you're not American. You're not. I'm Christian. You're Muslim. You don't get to go to heaven. We fight huge wars because of our identity in politics, or our identity in religion. I'm
White.
Female, and he's male. I mean, how many conflicts come from this definition of what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a man? Then the color. I'm white. You're red. What does that mean? That means I can slaughter you because you're not. You're not my.
You're not what culture defines as truly acceptable,
right,
or most maximally
right,
acceptable.
So we have gotten into enormous problems in this whole, through this identifying this is this. This is what's important. How about human versus animal? What has rights in the natural world? We've kind of expanded out to sort of intelligent animals, but we still treat living creatures in the natural world as being a different category than us, and being able to, we can exploit and destroy
and
eat the natural world because it's of a different, it's not the same identity as us. So identity is vastly important in how do we relate to what's around us. And so, I mean, when I asked why is this important, this is really what I was thinking about, was this is incredibly important because my entire attitude towards the world rests 100% on identity, on how I identify myself and how I identify everything else in the world.
Well, look at the environmental movement, how the damage that we did. I mean, they could damn well cut down the Pacific Northwest, practically every freaking tree.
Yeah, we were out
Plenty
there.
more where that came from. They'll grow right back.
I never thought a state should have a smell until we were in Oregon, and I decided that the state smell of Oregon was sawdust. Because, I mean, everywhere you went, there were logging trucks.
Nobody knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows who they are. You have ideas about who you are, but know, once again, is a gigantic word. To say you know means you absolutely know, and nobody knows absolutely anything other than something's happening. Sound and Fury in progress. Mm-hmm. Big Bang event still rolling. But even that's a fable. Nobody knows. Maybe there wasn't a Big Bang event. Maybe the Christers have it right. Maybe, DeLawed, created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh he rested. And
I think the idea that there was a Big Bang, what has that been, about 20 years in scientific?
More than
except
that.
not much.
Oh, yeah. Well,
30? Okay, 30. Woo! I take the Big Bang with a grain of salt. I mean, it's all of science with a grain of salt. And I think
with humility and
right,
the
with
magic
humility.
ingredient of humility.
Right.
You know, we enjoy a digital camera that's recording this, and
right. But what I'm saying is
lights,
that
central
to
heat.
say that this is the foundation of this is where things started. What I'm saying is not to believe science either, because just for one reason, that science's ideas of what's true have changed fairly regularly. You may have noticed.
And there's a core of incredible arrogance that runs through science because they're our latest god. They're the secular god now that is going to explain it all to us.
Yeah, we watched a couple episodes of the Neil deGrasse Tyson's Nova Science Now, I think is what it's called. It's kind of a terrible name. And this one was very interesting to us. It was about how the brain works. And at the end, he basically sums it up just without even a shred of doubt in his voice, that the mind is the operation of the brain. There is nothing separate. The mind is not separate from the workings of the brain. It's just thoughts or firings of neurons, and we'll figure it out sooner or later.
That's all life is.
That's right.
This is a biochemical,
electrical process.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's all it is.
That's right. So that's all you are, folks, is just a random firing of electrical impulses.
You are a fluke of the universe.
Right.
You have no right to be here. And whether you can hear it or not, the universe is laughing behind your back.
So what does it mean to live?
National Lampoon's Radio Dinner.
What does it mean really to live in that insecurity, and to live, to quote Alan Watts, the wisdom of insecurity, to live in that not knowing? I mean, is that really possible to stay without?
I'm huffing because if you can stand there holding the door open at the shower stalls at Auschwitz, you can rationalize anything.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite rationalizers are the hardcore atheists who just put all their trust in science. It's all you need. You don't need to believe in anything greater than yourself, some deity, to be a good person.
I think maybe you misunderstood me.
Oh,
I'm saying
probably did.
not. Of course, there's the list of ways people have rationalized beliefs is endless. No, I'm talking about, can you live without belief? What does it look like to live without belief? What does it look like to live without an idea of who I am?
I believe when I wake up in the morning that when I go downstairs, the coffee stuff is going to be exactly where it is, where it was last seen yesterday morning at that bleary-eyed hour. Yes. There are all sorts of beliefs.
Right.
However, the belief that life is just going to work out, what was that Martin Mull thing about the woman that was really very overweight, and her parents kept telling her to just wait. You just haven't found the guy who's man enough to take on a woman appreciate a woman of heft. And after 20 years, when this philosophy began to wear thin, so what we're talking about, the magic antidote to madness is to become aware that you're mad.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's another variation of he who knows doesn't know. But he who doesn't know knows. Mm-hmm. He knows that he doesn't know, which means you get to actually know something. You know a hell of a lot more than walking around thinking you know when you don't. And that can lead, that humility is what we call just being in touch with your limitations, being in touch with the limitations of your beliefs. Can cause you, I think I'm getting sick, can cause you to start questioning all of your assumptions
all right.
about reality.
That sounds really conceptual, Arthur.
But you can't live without beliefs. You're going to have beliefs. That's where you're stuck.
Right.
You can, but then you're infinity.
But
you're no longer finite. You're home base. When you don't have any beliefs left, like what.
So you're saying we shouldn't have beliefs about who we are, but we're going to have them anyway? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying you need to be in touch with the obvious, objective fact that reality, to function in the world, you have beliefs. They exist.
Right.
It's just, are you a blind adherent to the only, that all Jews are money grabbers and that, George Bush is the epitome of evil, the great beast, or that Jesus is coming any day now. What's it been, 2,000 years? Yeah, sure. I think he's coming back. Far be it from me to question, challenge anyone's optimism.
Okay, so you're saying I can't exist without beliefs, so I can't say I'm not going to have a belief about who I am.
But
I'm going to have
but your
beliefs
belief
about who I
Arthur
am.
is an idiot and a hopeless case. You might want to look at, are there any limitations to that, or is that an absolute fact?
So so you're saying we can't live without beliefs, but we can actively question our beliefs.
Yeah, get in touch with just how true they really are. I mean, isn't that what life's all about? Who wants to go through life with their head up their ass? I mean, really up there. Not even a coal miner helmet to give you any reference point.
Now, Arthur's being a little free with his language today, but you know what?
I'm not well.
He saw.
Have some compassion,
Arthur likes
goddamn
to
you.
watch WLOS for the weather, he says, but he ends up watching the news sometimes. And they actually had footage of a person saying pissed off. So we figured if they could say that on Channel 13, ABC, Asheville News.
Sinclair Grove.
We thought, you know what? We could say it. So you know what? I just did say it. And where is the limits on language here? So if you don't like the word, if you don't like the phrase pissed off, and you're going to call URTV to say, watch their language, well, maybe you should call WLOS and ask them about their language.
Yeah. Believe me, if your kids, if your kids have much graver problems than language, and they hear much worse than this in school, I don't care, today probably in kindergarten.
Good God, what they hear in music, rap music, my God. Okay, so...
But we're not crazy. There's another good example.
But you know what, I think...
Jungle music and tattoos and piercing and whatever. Look at me.
But I think, Arthur, that there is a way...
I have pierced every orifice you see.
And can't see.
And can't see.
Right.
Love those. A chicken bone, a solid gold chicken bone thrust through your nostrils. What next? Good God.
Okay, well, I just want to
Generation
say
diarrhea.
that
We've already had Generation X, and we've had Generation X lax, is what I call it. Now we have Generation diarrhea.
Yeah. Okay.
Generation D.
So I think that there is a way. I think there is a way that you can live. You can embrace insecurity. I really do think that that is also possible. That you can embrace not knowing that's possible, and that it's actually the wise thing to do, which is to not. Because we like to rush to get the answers. We like to rush to figure things out. And actually, that's one thing a scientist will tell you. One of the things that the tools in science is to keep your mind open as long as possible and to not rush to certainty, not rush to answering something, but to put out your hypothesis into the world and then take in the evidence without prejudice so that you are making conclusions based on the evidence and not on your prejudice about the way it should be. And so that's not how our minds work at all. Our minds, we have prejudices about the way the world should be. And so that's what makes our theory. And so then everything that happens to us is viewed from that prejudiced point of view. And so we don't just see things the way they are. We see things based on how we think they should be. And by embracing my uncertainty, means I don't have expectations about the way it should be. And I just allow it to be the way it is and accepting it from a neutral point of view. And it's a much, much more peaceful way of living in the world.